Psalms chapter 84 and verse 10. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. So one day in the kingdom of heaven is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side, man. Let me repeat that again. One single day in the kingdom of heaven is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side, man. Okay? Where things were better for you. Moments that you can reminisce on and say, yeah, that was a good day. The kingdom of heaven blows it out the park, man. It blows it out the water. Just one day. Not to mention, the Heavenly Father, He's going to stretch out the time. He's going to expand the time so you can enjoy your immortality. You can enjoy your life. And the Lord said in Wisdom of Solomon, He created the Israelite man to be an image of his own eternity, man. We're going to be a likeness of his own eternity, man. We're going to be many most highs, man. We're going to be many most highs. Okay? God's on earth under Yahweh Shemiah Shah.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
And also what's going to make us gods? These laws, statutes, commandments, and us judging by the laws, statutes, commandments, but also these laws being in our inward parts, making us those perfect judges. Not to mention, we experience these different reincarnations in this wicked flesh, so we know how to judge the flesh. We know how to judge this body because we've been in this body many times. Okay? But once again, the kingdom of heaven is going to be patterned after the mind of Yahweh Shemiah Shah, man. A righteous paradigm.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the whole leg out there, pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem Shah, pushing get up out of here. Shalom to the whole leg, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shah. All right. And what I want to get into today, all right, is dealing with New World AI. All right. Because as we know, AI, all right, is a major tool, okay, that the devil, wants to utilize in his New World Order. Okay. And through AI, he wants to govern the masses. Okay. That's why you have, these depopulation agendas on the book. All right, the depopulation agenda on the books, okay, because for one, it's easier to govern, less people, okay, and this AI infrastructure uses a lot of resources, it uses a lot of power, from the grid, okay, and it uses, a lot of water, okay, in particular the resources, all right, that people need, okay. So this man has a depopulation agenda, okay, to suffice, making room, for his AI. His AI is replacing jobs, and they push, well, don't worry, you're going to get a UBI, a universal basic income. Well, the UBI, okay, is not going to be for billions of people. Okay, remember, he just wants, a few 100 million people on the earth, 500 million. According to the Georgia Guidestones. Okay. So this devil, okay, is all right at work, with his witchcraft. All right, his AI. Now I want to get some precepts. All right, then I got a video I want to get into. But let's set the foundation. Okay, because as you read in Revelation, the 13th chapter, before you get to the sea hip, okay, it goes into this man's technology. All right. So you start at Revelation 13 and 3. I mean 13 and 13, which, this is the technology that's leading to the sea hip, you know, the many, technological, you know, advances that the Lord has allowed this man to have. Okay, it all leads to the sea hip. Now, when you read Revelation 13 and 13, it says, and he, speaking of Esau, Edom, okay, doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven, all right, on the earth in the sight of men. Okay, this man's ability, all right, to do air strikes. He was the first nation, all right, to bring that into play. All right, no matter how great militaries, all right, that these ancient kingdoms had, no one was able to make fire, all right, come from the heaven, the Shemayim, all right, the atmosphere. Okay, and this devil, he his most, all right, brutal, okay, was during the World War II, where he dropped on Japan those atomic bombs, all right, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay, and he dropped, those atomic bombs, okay. You had NATO, doing air strikes, okay, introducing it, and making it a, a thing, in war. Okay, these other nations have air forces now, all right, but this devil, okay, there's none like his, okay, and he was the first to do it. He was the first to set that standard of making fire come down from heaven in the sight of men, and that's one of the things that made these nations bow down. Okay, these other heathens bow down to Esau because of his ability, okay, the way he weaponized the air. Okay. Now, when you jump down, well, in fact, let me get this word wonders. Okay. It should be that same word that we're going to get in, all right. He does great wonders, which is the same word for miracle, Simeon. Okay. Which is what? All right. A sign, a mark, a token. And this is all a sign of who he is. Okay. See, this devil's actions are signs and tokens of who he is, the wicked that the Bible speak of. Okay, you can't get around it. Okay, so when you keep going, it says that by which a person or thing is distinguished from others and is known. Okay, so this devil being able to make fire come from heaven, okay, through his air force. You see, now they even got DEWs, direct energy weapons, okay, which they speculate as the cause of a lot of those fires in California as of late. Okay, over there in Hawaii, you know, it says that by which a person or thing is distinguished, all right, from others and is known. Okay, and that's why when you go here, let's go here real quick. Book of Job 21. All right, I believe it's 21. And what does it say? Job 21 and 29. It says, have you not asked them to go by the way? And do you not know their tokens? Okay, their tokens. You see? So this devil, his actions distinguish him, okay, from anyone else, to where we understand prophecy, we can pinpoint the devil, man. Okay, because he's doing, all right, the things that the wicked would be doing. Okay, so you go into this word in the Hebrew, all right, which is atah, okay, and it goes into what? All right, it says a token, an ensign, a standard, miracle, or proof. So this devil's actions is proof of who he is. Okay, a distinguishing mark. You see that? A distinguishing mark. Just like I said in the word Simeon, okay, he would do wonders, and it would be a distinguishing mark of who this devil is, man. Okay, you still got Israelites that's confused on who Esau is, trying to make Esau be, Japhet, or Esau is the Arabs and all. No, okay, saying the so-called white man is Japhet and not Esau, and Arabs is the Esau. No, this man's behavior in the earth, his conduct in the earth, his achievements and wickedness is a distinguishing mark of who he is. Okay, so when you Read on what it say. It said that the wicked, okay, that the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, the devil, is reserved to the day of destruction. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath. And this is what the devil is doing. The Lord is bringing the devil, all right, forth to his own wrath, all right, to the wrath of the Most High. Okay, you see, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai is bringing the devil forth, okay, to his wrath. The Lord is finna showcase his wrath, all right, spew out his wrath on this devil, man. Okay, so let's get back to Revelation 13, okay, and 14. It says that he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, those wonders, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, all right, which means what? People to imitate, okay, the culture of ancient Rome, all right, of pagan Rome. Okay, this man has made people assimilate to ancient Rome. Okay, people are living out of the likeness, the fashion, okay, of ancient Rome. You see, it says which had the wound by a sword and did live. You know, he was wounded. You know, during what they call the Dark Ages. Okay, you know, you had the Eastern, the Western Roman Empire fell. Okay, Esau, was pushed out. Okay, of power and influence in the earth. Okay, but the devil, you know what? He came back because remember the wound was wounded to death, but it healed. And during the Renaissance, and during this Renaissance, the devil has been allowed to tap into technology, okay, that ancient Rome didn't have. Okay, so he was able to do, these miracles. Okay, and he's deceived the masses. Okay, through these miracles, man, pseudoscience, and this technology, man. Okay, and these people are in love with this man's society and his system and his technology that he can do no wrong. Okay, he can even say he's the chosen people. All right, and people will argue with you about this nigga, man. Okay, because the earth is deceived. And going back to these miracles, um, get this word again, because the word miracle and wonders. Okay, in this chapter is the same word Simeon, but it was another definition I wanted to get. All right. Now, when you go, okay, when you go here, it says a sign, a prodigy, a portent, i.e., all right, a portent, okay. Look this word portent up. Uh, so you get that word portent, and it goes into a sign or warning that something, especially something momentous or uh, calamitous, is likely to happen. Okay, and this technology that the devil, is presenting, is an upgrade. Okay, is enhanced, life in the earth. This is a sign that something calamitous is about to happen, which is the great destruction that's to come, promised by the scriptures, man. Okay, so let's go back. All right, get back this word, Simeon. Okay, let me get another precept. All right, so just finishing off the definition, it it says a sign, prodigy, a portent, okay, i.e., an unusual occurrence transcending the common course of nature, transcending the common course of nature. Okay, so this devil, okay, with his technology, he's transcending the common course of nature. You know, AI and his different technology, they're able to do things, okay, that's not natural. Okay, it's unnaturally, fast. It's unnaturally, you know, able to do things that, uh, uh, that they're not. normally done. Now there is a big, data center, okay, that this man has, okay, access to where he's able to draw out, okay. But at the same time, we have to understand, okay, what the Lord is allowing this man to tap into, okay, are left hand miracles, man. Okay. Now, uh, let's go here. All right. So when you go, matter of fact, I'm gonna play go to the video real quick. So let's go to the video real quick. Just going to the truth about, okay, AI. You know, all right, the truth about Silicon Valley. Okay, all right. So this video, the truth about Silicon Valley's radical vision for AI. All right, as we know, Silicon Valley, it's been a hub, for these tech guys, okay, billionaires, to launch, their businesses and firms, dealing with technology and, different, networking, So now, all right, he's going to go into it, how AI, has the privilege, to do things that the government, couldn't do. And see, this is why we're seeing them break down the government to make room for AI. They're breaking down the workforce to make room for AI. They want to depopulate to make room for AI. Okay, so what we're seeing, okay, is the new world order being set up. Okay, and AI is a major component of it. Okay, so let's play this. And we'll commentate, as need be. So let's play this real quick.
The 9 people on stage are shaping global artificial intelligence policy. Representatives from America, the European Union, global tech giants. A year ago, the question was how to make AI safely work for people. Now, America's answer is clear. That's optional.
The AI future is not going to be won by hand-wringing about safety.
I was in the room during J.D. Vance's speech, and it did really feel like a shift in the entire space around AI regulation.
Right now, AI systems are deciding who gets medical care, loans, job interviews, often illegally, and no one's watching, which is exactly what the tech industry wants. Now, the most powerful companies in the world are mounting an unprecedented lobbying push to make sure it stays that way.
State lawmakers could soon be barred from regulating artificial intelligence for the next decade.
I guess shocked is the wrong word. More horrified, right?
And they're calling it a favor.
The biggest risk could be missing out.
But here's what the executives don't want you to know. Why the rush? Why buy influence at every level of government? Why risk dismantling legal protections that took decades to build? Because behind the promise of a golden age for humanity, they're hiding something much more cynical. About 6 years ago, a health insurer worked with hospitals to use AI to determine patient care. The algorithm saw less money spent on Black and poor patients and concluded they needed less care. This wasn't a lab experiment, but something deployed across 200 million Americans. We have laws that make this illegal. In fact, we have a whole bunch of rules to protect people from all sorts of abuse. Antitrust laws to keep powerful businesses in check, protections for consumers and children, rules that keep your medical records private, civil rights, labor protections, equal opportunity, intellectual property. And resting on top of this imperfect foundation is us, society. But right now, companies are using AI in ways that break these laws. And most of the time, nobody knows until the damage is done.
Much of what we know is the product of, whistleblowing or investigative journalism or independent research, rather than companies doing their due diligence and making sure that in the first place, they're complying with the laws that we already have.
That's Sarah Myers West. She previously advised the Federal Trade Commission on artificial intelligence.
The way that AI's opacity works is that it makes it harder for us to seek accountability.
Artificial intelligence executives tend not to talk about this. Instead, we hear stuff like this.
We can cure all disease. We can travel to the stars. We have like unlimited power.
To be clear, there are some really promising applications of AI, but the biggest ones are in the future. Here's what we know is happening right now. Amazon hoarding recordings of your kids indefinitely? Your biometric data being harvested and sold to police departments? Companies rejecting job applicants based off of facial analysis? Health insurers are accused of using AI to mass reject medical claims. Landlords may use it to collude around rent prices. There's probably more. We don't know because there's no federal laws that require companies to tell us what's actually going on.
So what we're seeing with AI, these companies, and government are able, to do things, okay, that they normally would be illegal for them to do, okay. And just as you see this picture, and he's taking down the different blocks, okay, that make up, the structure of this society. Well, remember, this is a new world order, okay. This man's new world order is a new world order. It's a new order, okay. In fact, let's look up this word order. But this devil, he's breaking down that old order and bringing in the new. And with AI, he's able to make the AI bias, okay. He's able to, manipulate the AI, in his favor and say, well, AI, and he's bigging up AI so much to where AI is so much smarter than humans. Whatever, okay, the output of the AI, whatever the conclusion that AI comes up with, then that's the best decision that could possibly be made, okay. And he's bigging up AI and shaming humans, okay, people, to a point where AI is going to be a god over you people, man. Okay, now you go here to this word order, okay. Let me see, let's copy and paste this real quick. All right. Okay, so when you go here, all right, the way things are done, all right, have been done, what people are used to, well, there's going to be a new order to that. Okay, so when you go here with word order, all right, it says an arrangement or disposition of people or things in relation to each other according to a particular sequence, pattern, or method. Okay, so when this devil says he's going to bring a new world order, all right, how people interact with each other, how people interact with the earth, okay, people's concept of money, okay, this thing called liberty and freedom and rights and privilege, no, that's going to be rearranged, okay, and through AI, he's able to justify, well, look, AI has the best results, we have all this data, research, okay, and this what needs to be done, okay, because you can't get mad that what you can't physically do nothing to AI, okay. So he's able to use AI as a loophole to dismantle, okay, this old world. This is one of the tools that he's using to dismantle, okay, the old world is AI, okay, the results of AI, you see, and it only gets worse, all right, it only gets worse from here, man, okay. So let's keep going.
So that's what the state stepped in.
Right now, states like California, Colorado, and some others are considering bills that sort of address AI.
Brian Merchant covers technology. He's been watching Silicon Valley's AI push from the beginning. These bills, according to Brian, it's basic stuff. Follow the law, be transparent about AI use, common sense guardrails to ensure AI is subject to the same rules as everything else. Then in May, something changed. Buried deep in Trump's big, beautiful budget bill was a provision.
Now, the tax bill bans states from regulating AI for a decade.
I guess shocked is the wrong word. More horrified, right? It's pretty clear that the end game, if they're successful, is just no rules, no meaningful regulations around AI at all.
After weeks of negotiations, Republicans ultimately dropped the ban.
Just the fact that the Republicans and Silicon Valley are willing to sort of team up to try to do this, I think, is worrying enough, and it's sort of a sign of what's to come.
How does an industry manage to exert so much power that it could make it illegal for state and local governments to govern them at all for a decade?
Follow the money, and that's really all you have to do.
That's Ruman Chadhari, former AI envoy for the State Department. Used to run Twitter's ethical AI team, past tense, because Elon Musk fired him. Since ChatGPT triggered the current AI gold rush, 5 major tech companies have poured over $100 million into lobbying the federal government. But there's more to it.
We talk a lot about lobbying. There are also other ways in which companies influence what happens in the policy space.
Major tech companies bankroll academic research, steering the whole field.
This was not necessarily maliciously done, right? This comes from the fact that these companies have so much more money than academic institutions.
In some ways, they're richer than the government.
Foundations within this community have funded interns or full-time staff in Senate and congressional House offices around the US as public interest technologists.
Theodora Skiatis worked with Ruman at Twitter. She was also a victim of Musk. But it goes a lot deeper than paying for congressional staffers to advise politicians. It's the actual bureaucracy itself.
The US AI Safety Institute, housed in the National Institute for Standards and Technology under the Department of Commerce in the executive branch, increasingly has absorbed more individuals from this ecosystem.
All of this influence, the lobbying, the academic funding, the staffing pipeline. It's having exactly the effect they want.
Oh,
I started this reporting focused on Texas. Policy experts told me that Republicans there were working on a fantastic.
oh, so like I had on mute. So what we have to understand is they spoke about, the executive branch, and the executive branch is dealing with the president. That's the branch, of government. That the president. That's why he's able to make executive orders. So what we're seeing is more power, being handed to, the executive branch of government. All right. And Trump is surrounded by who? Technocrats. Okay. So they're making it to where these states, because states try to jump in, and regulate, the government, okay, and to regulate. All right, but what's happening now? They're passing bills because in that big beautiful bill, uh, it's going to be it has it in writing, okay, that the states have no authority or no jurisdiction over AI. All regulation of AI will come from the government, and the government is ran by technocrats, and the technocrats, okay, are puppets for the elites. Okay, so this old way of government is being thrown out the window. You got people running around, still talking about they're Democrat or Republican or left or alt right or whatever. None of that matters anymore. Okay, all things are going, okay, to AI. All right, and technocrat. Okay, so all this, Democrat, Republican, that people are cleaving on to, that's the old way. All right, and this new way is going to be through AI, through technology, okay, digital surveillance, digital ID, and it's going to lead to the sea hill. In order for you to exist in this new infrastructure, okay, that's governed by AI, you will have to have the sea hill, because the sea hill is going to tie you into, okay, this new world government. Okay, everything you do, all right, you see, will be monitored, tracked, all your spending, okay, your biometrics. Okay, this devil even wants to know your thoughts, man. Like this devil, all right, when this man says a new world order, that's what it is, man. It's a new order of everything, man. Okay, to where this man has complete control. Okay, so let's let this play some more.
Fantastic AI bill.
We're setting the tone, and it's being used as a model in other states to say, hey, this is data, it's important, let's protect it.
I called, emailed. None of the sponsors would talk to me about it. Then a few weeks later, this happened.
Representative Giovanni Capriglione is celebrating the success of his omnibus artificial intelligence bill.
But the bill was completely rewritten, gutted. A former FTC lawyer told me that it gave the industry exactly what they wanted. Politicians are falling in line, but the public? People want more AI regulation, not less, by almost 3-1. And when you've spent that much money and people still think you're full of there's only one move left.
We're in a race with China. And my view is if they're going to be killer robots, I'd rather they be American killer robots than Chinese.
There's for a long time been this discourse that emerges at moments where AI is very close to being more stringently regulated, around there being an arms race between the US and China.
Be afraid. Be afraid. Pure evil exists. Okay, it does exist. Okay, and these people, they plan on dominating us in AI, in chips.
Industry voices argue that if we subject AI to all the usual rules, it will slow down AI development and cause the US to lose the AI race to China. There's just one potential problem with their argument.
China actually has a very developed, responsible AI framework.
They are one of the best regulated AI environments in the world. I'm concerned that this kind of competitive language is a Trojan horse for deregulation, and where regulation is warranted.
Even accepting the China threat at face value, there's no reason to deregulate because China isn't. In that case, what's the ultimate goal of AI companies? I asked everyone I spoke with.
Consolidation of power.
Maximize profits.
Power.
Profit.
And this is the dirty little secret of the industry.
So the AI industry has actually been, in some ways, in real financial trouble.
I'm standing here outside a Meta data center. Investors have been pouring money into AI infrastructure projects. This one has cost about $700 million. Overall, it's tough to give an exact amount on the industry's investment because all of this money is private. But everyone more or less guesses it's at about $200 billion.
There is no clear path to profitability.
The original idea was that AI was going to be sold to businesses, but that has failed to materialize for all of the reasons that AI just isn't working all that well in the first place.
These systems require the use of immense amounts of resources, compute. They assume that if they get enough people to use a product like ChatGPT, if it's popular enough, then there just has to be a way.
In February, a hedge fund did some back envelope math. If you strip out investments in data centers and training, how much money was actually spent on buying actual AI products and services? About 16 billion, maybe less. To actually turn a reasonable profit, they need to raise that number to about 200 billion. Industry revenue is growing, but the money behind it is getting nervous. Exact estimates vary, but the general thesis has been backed by major venture capitalists and investment banks. And there's one thing that potentially complicates business cases for these systems: our existing laws.
If there are any road bumps into how they can.
So what you can see, there's so much money being poured into AI, but they're not making profit, showing you that it's not about profit, it's about power. Okay, the devil is investing into his new world order. He looks at it as an investment. Okay, he's not worried about profit, because mostly it's tax dollars that's paying for it anyway. Okay, and these big companies have, so much revenue, so much disposable cash that they're not hurting. Okay, their coffers are constantly being replenished. Okay, so what we're seeing is these devils are investing in the control. Okay, the potential control. All right, that AI will have over the masses, man. This technology will have over the people. Okay, they're not investing in this to make profit. Okay, they make profit already. All right, these mega companies, all right, are extremely profitable. Google, Microsoft, okay, OpenAI, and different. They're extremely, comfortable, profitable, man. And then you have to understand government funnels money through these companies. Okay, because a lot of these Facebook, Meta, those are government companies anyway. Palantir, those are government companies, but they're able to run as private companies under these front men. Peter Thiel, all right. What you got? Mark Zuckerberg, okay. Elon Musk, they're able to run these government companies under these front men so they can run it as private. So they wanted to deal with the regulations the government have. Okay. So it's not about a profit, okay, for these companies, man. It's about the power and the control of the masses. Okay. Because see, like it is now, people are speaking out, whistleblowers, and all these, loose ends they have with their agenda. See, they want to stop that from happening ever again. They don't never want to be a chance of an uprising. That's why they want to put this C up in everybody. Okay? So let's let it play some more. Got a few more minutes.
Do that, then selling enterprise AI software suddenly becomes less appealing, both to them and to the clients.
These road bumps are society's foundations. Fair credit reporting violations, when AI denies loans without proper disclosures. Fraud statutes, when AI systems hallucinate financial results and deceive investors. Equal employment violations, when you weed out candidates from women's colleges. Civil rights violations, when a biased data set doesn't suggest medical care to poor or Black people. And these protections are exactly what deregulation is trying to undo.
I don't see how that's good for anybody except for the few firms that are making a ton of profit off of it.
But here's the thing about companies that spend hundreds of billions of dollars on products with no clear path to profitability. They try to create their own reality.
So a lot of terms are being thrown around by CEOs that sound incredibly impressive. Artificial general intelligence is one.
That's a theoretical type of AI that possesses human intelligence and can perform any intellectual task a person can.
We said from the very beginning we're going to go after AGI.
I'm sure you've heard it before.
How long before we're literally dealing with a god? It used to be that AGI was this very binary moment.
OpenAI has had a definition of AGI in its charter, and I quote from its charter: highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work.
Microsoft and OpenAI have an investment deal that further defines AGI.
In the contract language, specifically that they would consider a system AGI once it had generated $100 billion in profits.
Let that sink in. Artificial general intelligence isn't about curing cancer or American dominance. It's about whatever makes them $100 billion. And suddenly, everything clicks. The state preemption bills, the lobbying, the policy capture, The China scare tactics, all of it designed to eliminate any regulation that might slow their path to power and profit.
So you just keep that in mind whenever you hear of OpenAI talking about how it's going to cure cancer or build a technology that's going to benefit all of humanity. This is the aim. It's to build the most potentially profitable, the most business friendly, the most worker crushing technology in history.
So yeah, and they was using that term, all right, to deregulate, okay, and this is what's in that big beautiful bill, all right, is for technology to be deregulated, okay, and we was constantly warned about these things in the scriptures, okay, as we John, the Revelator, he's seen the technology, and Apostle Paul, he warned of these things, okay, so let's start here. 2 Thessalonians 2:3 says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, in which we fell away." From 70 AD, that began us falling away. Our people, they still knew who they were, all right, but they will begin to fall away, all the way into the transatlantic slave trade, to where, we was, and we became lost. We fully fell away. They began to separate families. So any knowledge of us being Hebrews and who we were, and all right, our power. Those things became, all right, each generation. It became more and more scarce until, we were completely just lost. Spiritually dead. Okay, and we've been revived now. All right, so that phase of prophecy has come. Okay, and now we've been revived. It says, and that man of sin be revealed, and he's been revealed. His whole lesson is dealing with the man of sin and his technology, his miracles, pseudoscience. It says the son of perdition, okay, of destruction, who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Most High, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. And this is what he wants to do, is about control. That's why it's not about profit. Okay, that's why they just have these unlimited billions of dollars to pour into this thing, because it's about him trying to manually make himself the Most High in the earth, man, through his technology, man, through left hand means. Okay, it says, "Remember ye not that when I was with you, I told you these things." Okay, and now all right, what withhold it, that he might be revealed in this time. All right, so the Apostle Paul, was going into, okay, this devil, all right, these Edomites, okay, who would try to betray themselves as the Most High in the earth, man. Okay, he wants to be omnipotent, omnipresence, and he believes AI, okay, is his path, okay, to becoming like the Most High. Okay, it says, "For the mystery of iniquity doth already work." Speaking of what? Edom, Rome. Okay, and that beast has been revived. Now Edom, Rome has, this technology to where he thinks it's achievable of him becoming like the Most High. See, pagan Rome didn't have this. All right, those Caesars had a God complex, but they didn't have this technology, man. So this is on a whole nother level. It says, "Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." All right, because this man has been given, a time, a set time, to try to pull this off before the Lord will intervene. Okay, and will take this man out the way. "And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth," which are the prophets. Okay, and the spirit is devil is being consumed. Okay, he's being overwhelmed in the spirit, and that's why you see him hitting the ground running with his NWO. "And shall destroy it with the brightness, okay, of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders." Okay, and you go into the word wonders. Okay, we're watching this lying signs and wonders. All right, because he's presenting this as salvation. He's presenting this technology, transhumanism, as immortality to you people, man. And it's a lying wonder. Okay, there's no way. All right, you go here to pseudos. All right, in the Greek. Okay, it says a lie. It says a conscious and intentional falsehood. Okay, in a broad sense, whatever is not what it seems to be. Okay, deceitful precepts, man, and everything that this man is presenting is a lie, it's a falsehood. Okay, he's presenting that he has some type of better way, okay, than the promises of the Bible. Okay, which those promises are only to Israelites. Okay, but this man and his lying wonders, we're watching it at work. Okay, go to this word wonders. Okay, let's go into the word wonders. All right, which is what? Taras. Okay, in the Greek, which goes into what? You see, a prodigy, a portent, which is a warning. Okay, miracle performed by one. Okay, so we're seeing, his lying miracles, man, his pseudo miracles that he's able, to pull off. All right, in the sight, okay, of men. Okay, and many people are wondering after, okay, the beast. Okay, so that was the point. Just wanted to get into that. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified, and you're gonna keep watching the devil as he gradually, pushes his NWO, man. All right, and we know the closer he gets to this NWO, the closer we get to salvation, man. So this is all good news for us. Okay, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations, and hopefully, shalom.